Hello, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. And today we are on chapter number 9, Two Bereavements. It starts with Bibi Halima and Harith were convinced that the two boys had been speaking the truth, and they were exceedingly shaken in consequence. Harith feared that their foster son had been possessed by an evil spirit or smitten by some spell, and he told his wife to take him with all speed to his mother before the harm he had suffered became apparent in him. So Halima took him once more to Makkah, intending to say nothing about the real reason for her change of mind, but the change was too abrupt, and Amna, not to be deceived, finally compelled her to recount the whole story. Having heard it, she dismissed Halima's fear, saying, "Great things are in store for my little son." Then she told her of her pregnancy and of the light that she had been conscious of carrying within her. Halima was reassured, but this time Amina decided to keep her son. "Leave him with me," she said, "and a good journey home." The boy lived happily in Makkah with his mother for about 3 years, winning the affection of his grandfather and his uncles and aunts and his many cousins with whom he played. Particularly dear to him were Hamza and Safia, the children of Abdul Muttalib's last marriage, which had taken place on the same day as that of Muhammad's sallallahu alaihi wasallam's parents. Hamza was his own age, Safia a little younger, his uncle and his aunt through his father, his cousins through his mother, and a powerful, lasting bond was formed between the three of them. When he was 6 years old, his mother decided to take him on a visit to his kinsmen in Yathrib. They joined one of the north-bound caravans, riding on two camels, Amina on one of them, and he on the other, with his devoted slave girl, Baraka. In later life, he recounted how he learned to swim in a pool which belonged to his Khazraji kinsmen with whom they stayed, and how the boys taught him to fly a kite. But not long after they had set out on their return journey, Bibi Amna Salamullah fell ill, and they were obliged to halt, letting the caravan go on without them. After some days, she died. It was at Abwa, not far from Yasrib, and there she was buried. Baraka did what she could to console the boy. Now, dully and often, and in the company of some travelers, she brought him once more to Makkah. His grandfather now took complete charge of him, and it soon became clear that his special love for Abdullah had been transferred to Abdullah's son. Abdul Muttalib was always happy to be near the Kaaba, as when it had been his want to sleep in the hijr at the time when he had been ordered to dig Zamzam. So his family used to spread him a couch every day in the shadow of the holy house. And out of respect for their father, and out of respect for their father, none of his sons, not even Hamza, would ever venture to sit on it. But his little grandson had no such scruples, and when his uncle told him to sit elsewhere, Abdul Muttalib said, "Let my son be, for by God, a great future is his." He would seat him beside him on the couch and stroke his back, and it always pleased him to watch what he was doing. Almost every day they could be seen together, hand in hand, at the Kaaba or elsewhere in Makkah. Abdul Muttalib even took Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with him when he went to attend the assembly where the chief man of the town, all over 40, would meet to discuss various matters. Nor did the 80 years old man refrain from asking the 7-year-old boy his opinion on this or that. And when called to question by his fellow dignitaries, he would always say, "A great future is in store for my son." 2 years after the death of his mother, the orphan was bereaved of his grandfather. When he was dying, Abdul Muttalib entrusted his grandson to Abu Talib, who was full brother to the boy's father, and Abu Muttalib prolonged the affection and the kindness that his nephew had received from the old man. Henceforth he was as one of his own sons, and his wife Fatima did all she could to replace the boy's mother. In after years, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to say of her that she would have let her own children go hungry rather than him. Subhanallah. So why not we should go for, I guess, chapter number 10 as well for today, which is Bahira the monk. So it states as the fortunes of Abdul Muttalib had waned during the last part of his life, and what he left at his death amounted to no more than a small legacy for each of his sons. Some of them, especially Abdul Uzay, who was known as Abu Lahab, had acquired wealth of their own. But Abu Talib was poor, and his nephew felt obliged to do what he could to earn his own livelihood. This he did mostly by pasturing sheep and goats, and he would thus spend day after day alone in the hills above Mecca or on the slopes of the valley beyond. But his uncle took him sometimes with him on his travel. And on one occasion, when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was 9, or according to others, if like he was 12 years old, they went with a merchant caravan as far as Syria, at Bostra, near one of the halts where the Meccan caravan always stopped. There was a cell which had been lived in by a Christian monk for generations after generations. When one died, another took his place and inherited all that was in the cell, including some old manuscripts. Amongst these was one which continued the prediction of the coming of a prophet to the Arabs and Bahira. The monk, who now lived in the cell, was well versed in the contents of his book, which interested him all the more because, like Varaka, he too felt that the coming of the prophet would be in his lifetime. He had often seen the Meccan caravan approach and halt not far from his cell, but as this one came in sight, his attention was struck by something the like of which he had never seen before. A small, low-hanging cloud moved slowly above their heads, so that it was always between the sun and one or two of the travelers. With intense interest, he watched them draw near, but suddenly his interest changed to amazement, for as soon as they halted, the cloud ceased to move, remaining stationary over the tree beneath which they took shelter, while the tree itself lowered its branches over them so that they were dully in the shade. Bahira knew that such a portent, though unobtrusive, was of high significance. Only some great spiritual presence could explain it. And immediately he thought of the expected prophet. Could it be that he had at last come and was amongst these travelers? The cell had recently been stocked with the provisions, and putting together all he had, he sent word to the caravan men of Quraysh, I have prepared food for you, and I would that ye should come to me, every one of you, young and old, bondman and free man. So they came to his cell, but despite what he had said, they left Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to look after their camels and their baggage. As they approached, Bahira scanned their faces one by one, but he could see nothing which corresponded to the description in his book, nor did there seem to be any man amongst them who was adequate to the greatness of the two miracles. Perhaps they had not all come. Men of Quraysh, he said, let none of you stay behind. There is not one that hath been left behind, they answered, save only a boy, the youngest of us all. Treat him not so, said Bahira, but call him to come, and let him be present with us at this meal. Abu Talib and the others reproached themselves for their thoughtlessness. We are indeed to blame, said one of them, that the son of Abdullah should have been left behind and not brought to share this feast with us. Whereupon he went to him and embraced him and brought him to sit with the people. One glance at the boy's face was enough to explain the miracles to Bahira. And looking at him attentively throughout the meal, he noticed many features of both face and body which corresponded to what was in his book. So When they had finished eating, the monk went to this youngest guest and asked him questions about his way of life and about his sleep and about his affairs in general. Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam readily informed him of these things, for the man was venerable and the questions were courteous and uh, benevol- benevolent. Nor did he hesitate to draw off his cloak where finally the monk asked if he might see his back. Bahira had already felt certain, but now he was doubly so, for there, between his shoulders, was the very mark he expected to see, the seal of the prophethood, even as it was described in his book, in the self same place. He turned to Abu Talib. What kins, kinship hath this boy with thee? He said, he is my son, said Abu Talib. He is not the son, said the monk. It cannot be that this boy's father is alive. He is my brother's son, said Abu Talib. Then what of his father? Said the monk. He died, said the other, when the boy was still in his mother's womb. That is the truth, said Bahira. Take the brother's son back to his country and guard him against the Jews. For by God, if they see him and know of him what which I know, they will contrive evil against him. Great things are in store for this brother's son of three. Thank you so very much for being with me. Thank you so very much for joining me, and wish you a very, very, very beautiful and good days and a healthy life ahead. And keep watching me. Thank you so very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.